Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and with pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. We are reading chapter 18. Before starting, let's do Mangalacharan prayers. I'm trying to find them. If you're okay, let's just recite the prayers, whoever is able. Om Agyan Timirandasya
Tasmai
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Svapadanti Vandeham Sri Guru Sita Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam
Natan Satam Sajivam Advaitam Savadutam Parijana
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi
Radhe Vrindavadeshwari
Vishpano Sute Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakaltarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Namom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedant Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarane Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatharanam Paramananda Madhavam Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Guruve Gaur Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Naya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama
Hare Bol. Let me share my screen. So we are reading chapter 18. This is the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So this is talking about Sannyasi Yoga. We have read 13 verses so far. I will quickly summarize them before we move on because it's been more than a month, I think, since we were doing this chapter. So the chapter starts with Arjuna asking a question from Krishna about the difference between tyag and sannyas. So Krishna says that tyag is basically the spirit of renunciation, the spirit of detachment, meaning that you are engaged in an activity, you're working, but you are working without any hankering for enjoying the result. You are not attached to the outcome or the result. You're working with a sense of renunciation. So giving up the results of the activities is called tyag. And he says sannyas is giving up any materialistic activities. So sannyas is basically a order of life. Sannyas is an ashram of life. Sannyas is a stage of life where people are at such an elevated platform. They have practiced tyag or detachment all their life, so that when the last stages of their life comes, they take sannyas, where they give up all kinds of materialistic activities and they engage only in spiritualist activities, only in spiritual activities, only the devotional service, basically. So you can think of all our sannyasis that you know, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj or Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, so many great sannyasis that you know of, right? So what are they all doing? They're not engaging in any materialistic activities. They're engaging in only spiritual activities or devotional activities. So theirs is a life of sannyas. Sannyas order is an ashram. But tyag is something we can all practice without having to accept sannyas. We can practice tyag on a daily basis. We can work with a sense of detachment without being too attached to the results or outcomes, right? Giving up the results. So it may look to the other person that we are doing some materialistic activities, because he may say, oh, I also go to work, she also goes to work, we are both going to work, we are both making money, but then how come you're saying that she is a tyagi and I'm not? Well, because she is working with a sense of detachment, or he or she, the devotee, is working with a sense of detachment. They are working for the pleasure of the Lord, whereas you are also going to the same work, but you are working with the sense of bhog, with the sense of personal gratification. So when you're working with the sense of personal gratification, sense gratification, gratification of for your own enjoyment, for your own senses, for your own body or your own family or your own community, then that is not detachment. So you're not a tyagi, whereas a devotee is working with a sense of detachment. So that is the difference between tyag and sannyas. And then Krishna also again reinforces the fact that we should not give up any activities. We should not give up our prescribed duties, because it is the nature of an embodied soul to be engaged always in some activity. So he says prescribed duties should never be renounced. Because if you give up your prescribed duties, then that is actually in mode of ignorance. So that is actually tamasic. So basically saying to Krishna, to Arjun, that your prescribed duty is to fight in this battle. And if you give up that duty and you run away from this battle, then that is very tamasic. So all the activities should be performed, prescribed duties should be performed by an ordinary living entity like us, and they should be performed without any attachment, without any expectation of the results. And he also says that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance, those should not be given up either. Because some spiritualists, they become, when they become very advanced, they say, oh, we are so renounced that we don't even engage in any charity or sacrifices or penances. But Krishna is not recommending that. Krishna is saying that we should engage in some acts of sacrifices, charity, and penances, even if you're a very elevated, renounced person. Then he says renunciation can be of three kinds. It can be in mode of ignorance, mode of passion, or mode of goodness, tamasic, rajasic, or sattvic. So if you give up things because out of illusion, because out of laziness, indolence, right, then that is tamasic. कि मुझे काम करने का मन नहीं करता, उठा नहीं जाता सुबह, या it's very feeling lazy basically to work, then that is tamasic. That is mode of illusion. If you give up prescribed duties out of discomfort, out of inconvenience, ki nahi, it is uncomfortable for me, it is inconvenient for me, right? Then that is in mode of passion, because you're only thinking of your own bodily comfort and gratification. If you give up the duty, if you give up as a matter of duty, then that is in mode of goodness. So he says that prescribed duties should not be whimsically renounced. You should do them, but without any attachment to the results and without any attachment to the outcome, and should perform them as a matter of duty, then that is in mode of goodness. So when one performs his prescribed duty, because it ought to be done, meaning this is my duty to my country, to my society, to Lord, who has given me these skills, these resources, these talents, I should engage in this work, then that is in the mode of goodness. What else? Other than that, Krishna said, and I'll open this document that we made last time. Okay, verse 10, Krishna says that intelligent renouncer is the one who is in mode of goodness, who is neither hating the inauspicious work nor to attach to the auspicious work. So basically, वो शुभ या अशुभ के साथ बहुत ज़्यादा attach नहीं है. Inauspicious work हो गया कि this is uncomfortable for me, this is inconvenient to me, this is causing discomfort to my body, so this is ashubh, so I will give up. So he's hateful of inauspicious work. Auspicious हो गया कि बहुत मुझे इससे सुख मिलता है, तो मैं यही चीज करूंगा सिर्फ, और थोड़ा भी अगर कुछ किसी चीज से थोड़ा भी इनकन्वीनियंस मिलती है, दुख मिलता है, थोड़ा भी प्रॉब्लम मिलती है, तो फिर उसको उससे हेट्रेड हो जाना, उससे हेटफुल हो जाना, दैट इज नॉट द साइंस ऑफ सिम्टम्स ऑफ एन इंटेलिजेंट renouncer. The intelligent renouncer is not to attach to auspicious work and not hateful of inauspicious work. And devotee typically knows that everything in this world is inauspicious only, right? So any work you undertake will have some inauspiciousness to it, because we are operating in this material world. We are entangling in this material world. We are bound by the rules of this material world, and this comes with a lot of inauspiciousness. So every work will have some discomfort, some problems, some inconveniences to our mind or our senses or our intelligence, to our body, to our family. There will be some inconveniences. But he's not hateful of those inconveniences. He understands the nature of this material world is to be dukkhalyam, to be inconvenient, right? So this world is not designed for our comfort. It is actually designed to be a very uncomfortable place. And so everything will be inauspicious. It does not mean that you give up everything that you've been prescribed. But also it does not mean that you engage in ugra karma, right? It does not mean that you engage in sinful acts based on this. So you have to find a balance that, yes, there will be inconveniences, there will be discomforts, but I should not be very hateful of the inauspicious work and not very attached to the auspicious work. कि जो बस अच्छा है, बस खुशी है, सुख है, जिसमें सब कुछ बहुत बेस्ट होगा, कंफर्टेबल होगा, वही चीज मैं करूंगा. जिसमें थोड़ी भी प्रॉब्लम आएगी तो उसको मैं गिव अप कर दूंगा. That's not the mood of a devotee. So so that was number 10. And let's open this document here. This was the document we came up with. So prescribed duties, Krishna says, give up the results, keep doing your duty, but give up the results. In this way, you will always be successful, right? If you're not too attached to the outcome, you will be enjoying the process. You will be enjoying the endeavor that you're putting into that duty. And in this way, you will always be successful. Because in this world, the failure and success is decided based on the outcome. But for devotees, the success is in the endeavor. Success is in the action itself, not in the outcome. So don't be too attached to the results. Then we discussed about extremes, about the activity. Some people think that all the action is in my hand, all the results are in my hand. And some people say that nothing is in my hand, neither the action nor the results, none of this is in my hand at all. But actually, neither of this is true. There is a balance between the two. There are some things that are in our hand and some things that are not in our hand. So this we will read more today. We understand that we are not the only doer and we are not the only controller, but we have some control and some portion of the action that we can control. But there are many other factors beyond our control. We also talked about Krishna is not the only enjoyer, right? Krishna is the only enjoyer. We are not the enjoyer. So we should do any action for the enjoyment of Krishna. And our enjoyment is in the enjoyment of Krishna, right? Seva mehi meva hai, right? Seva is the actual success, is the actual happiness for a devotee. So you become instruments of Krishna's will, and in that you enjoy. You assist Krishna in his enjoyment, and as a result of that service, you enjoy. So you don't enjoy based on the outcome, but you enjoy based on that service. We also talked about that the true tyagi, true intelligent renouncer is actually attached to Krishna and detached from this world. Okay. So renunciation does not mean that you're just detached from the world but not attached to Krishna. That's not renunciation. क्योंकि कोई कह सकता है मैंने सब कुछ छोड़ दिया, मैंने अपना घर बार, अपनी फैमिली, अपना wealth, अपनी house, अपनी car, सब कुछ छोड़ दिया, right? So he's detaching from the world, but he has not developed any attachment to Krishna. So that's not tyag either. So the true tyag, true sannyas, true detachment only happens if you simultaneously attach yourself to Krishna. Because it is the nature of the living entity to keep engaged in some activity. So unless you are attaching yourself to something higher, you cannot give up something lower. So in our entire life, this is what we are practicing. In this whole life, until we get to the last stages, where we are completely attached to Krishna, every day, what we are practicing is that we are detaching from this world every day a little bit, and we are attaching more to the Krishna every day a little bit, right? So we should keep increasing our attachments to Krishna and keep decreasing our detachments to this world. Then in the end, we will be able to completely attach ourselves to Krishna. So just dry detachment from the world is not recommended. So renunciation should be driven by the love for Krishna. Okay, we discussed this in detail also before. So, so tyag, we got the answer. Krishna recommends karm phal tyag, meaning renunciation of the results, renouncing the results, the fruits of an activity, not renouncing the activity itself, not karm sannyas, not giving up the activity. That is not renunciation. So Arjun was confused. Arjun thought that if I just leave this battlefield and go away from this, that will be sannyas. And Krishna corrected him. That's not sannyas. That's actually very tamasic thing to do. That is actually very sinful to do. So you should not take karm sannyas. You should not give up your prescribed duty. Rather, you should give up the result of that prescribed duty, meaning karm phal tyag. So Krishna does not recommend karm sannyas. Then he says, and he also says it is impossible for embodied beings to give up the action. And then he said that karm phal are of 3 types. Every action has a reaction. So I'll show that verse. Where Krishna says that if you decided that you are the enjoyer of an action, you are the enjoyer of the result, then you will have to suffer those results, because every action will have a reaction. It can be good, bad, or mixed. It can be desirable, undesirable, or a mixed reaction, but there will be some reaction. And so this type of results where you are the enjoyer, you will have to suffer the reaction, and you will accrue those reactions after death. You will always stay entangled in this world. So I hope this point is clear to everybody. This point is very important before we move on to our new verses for today. That if you think you are the enjoyer of a result, you are the enjoyer of the fruits of the action you performed, then you will have to suffer the reaction. It can be a good reaction, meaning a pious result. It can be a bad reaction, meaning a sinful reaction, sinful result, or it can be mixed. Typically in this world, we have very mixed results. But whatever it is, you will have to come back to enjoy or suffer that. If you did all pious deeds in this world, thinking that I am the doer, I am doing this, I am the enjoyer of these results, मैंने इतनी चैरिटी की है, इतने ज़्यादा लोगों को खाना खिलाया है, इतने ब्लैंकेट्स दान में दिए हैं, मैंने ये किया है, मैंने वो किया, मैंने इतने लोगों की हेल्प की है, right? I facilitated all this, and so I should be given name, fame, glories, and people are giving you respect and fame and glories, right? So you did all these pious deeds, but then you will get all these pious results, all these desirable results, and you may become a demigod in next life, but you will have to come back to accept the next life. So you may go to heavenly planets, you may become a demigod, you may become a very rich, famous person in next life, you may become a very beautiful, very good janma you might get next life, right? But you will get a janma. So the whole point is that a devotee does not want next janma. Devotee wants to serve the Lord. Devotee wants to go back to Godhead. So when they do something pious, they do it knowing that they are neither the doer nor the enjoyer of the result. So even desirable reactions, you would have to come back to enjoy. And what to speak of undesirable? If you did something sinful, if you did something, that is not given in scriptures, that is not according to scriptural injunctions, which is undesirable, then that is sinful, and you will get sinful reactions. Then you will go to a lower planet or a lower birth, a bad janma you will get, right? Or in this, or you'll get a human life, but with very bad, condition, very bad, poor situation. Yeah, for a lower species you may take birth in. So you will have to get a birth where you will get to suffer those undesirable results. And mixed, meaning some piety you did, some impiety, some sinful, some, you will have to come back to suffer those also. So in any case, unless you are renounced, unless you give up the results of the activity, you will have to come back to enjoy or suffer those results. So Krishna says, those who are not in the renounced order of life have no such results to suffer or enjoy. So अगर आप renounced हो, then you will not have to suffer or enjoy any of these results. So renounced matlab you're not attached to the results. The last verse that we read, Krishna says, so you think actions are not in, the results are not in your control? Yes, results are not in your control, right? The outcome is not in your control, but also the action is not in your complete control either. You are not the complete doer either. So he says there are 5 factors that are responsible for performing an action, for performing an endeavor. So this was our summary for the first 13 verses of this chapter. Anyone has any questions or any reflections on this before we move on and start the new verses? Yes, Mataji, Anita Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So I was just getting this example in mind that it is said that when you are trying to climb mountain and when you want to go higher, you have to keep the baggage low, very light. Otherwise, it is very difficult to climb the mountain with the heavy baggage. So Krishna, like I'm trying to relate with that example, is actually trying to teach us that if you like more and more you are getting entangled and attached with the work, you are getting more heavier. Like you are not light here. If you are like, let's say, I'm saying I'm doing everything and then people should do something for me and all kind of things. That is basically entangling me, making me more heavy. So if I have to progress, I cannot make progress with that kind of thought. So just wanted to share this example of like
Yes, Mataji.
how I can relate with the real world.
Yes, Mataji. We are increasing अपने कर्मों की गठरी बढ़ाते जाएंगे, right? चाहे वो good हो, चाहे वो bad हो. So bad का तो सबको समझ आता है, good का लोगों को कई बार समझ नहीं आता कि pious activities करने में क्या problem है. Pious activities करने में कोई problem नहीं है. They are actually given in scriptures and we should do them, but we should know that we are ultimately the results we should give up to the Lord. We should not take ownership or proprietorship of those results. We are not the owner or the proprietor of those results. So they should be given up for the enjoyment of Krishna. He is the supreme enjoyer. So yes, अपने कर्मों की गठरी भारी करते जाएंगे अगर हमको लगेगा हमें. So this is all coming from the platform of body. This is coming all from false ego, thinking that I am the body. So मैं जिसमें बहुत ज़्यादा रहता है. So those people think that I am the doer. I am facilitating everything. So I should enjoy the result. I made this happen. So I should get all the glories and name and fame, and people should give me all acknowledgements and appreciation and gratitude, and everything should be aimed at me. So this me, this false ego, this bodily conception of life that I'm this body. I am Natasha Gupta, right? I'm a doctor, I'm an Indian, I'm a female. Operating from that platform, actually, like you said, we increase our baggage a lot. And so the journey back to Godhead becomes very, very hard. So you tend to fall down. Okay, next, shall we start reading the next one? Okay, let's read from verse 14. Actually 14 to 16, they're all together, so let's do them all together. We'll lead and follow. 18.14. Adhishtanam tatha karta karanam cha prithagvidham vividhascha prithak cheshta Devam Chaivatra Panchamam. Let's recite these 4 verses together and then we will read their translations together. 18.15. Shariravan manobhiryat Karma prarabdhe nara Nyayam va vipritam va Panchayate tasya hetava Two more. 18.16. Tatraivam sati kartaram Atmanam kevalam tuya Pashyati akrita buddhitvan Na sa pashyati durmate One more. 18.17. Yasya naham krito bhavo Buddhir yasya na lipyate Hatvapi sa imallokan Nahanti na nibadyate People. So can I have 4 people want to read each translation?
I can read.
Then purport by His Divine Grace, should I say Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, Mataji, please read from 14 to 17. We'll take one each.
Text 14, Hare Krishna. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. Hare Krishna.
Please keep reading one after another.
Hare Krishna. Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors. Hare Krishna. Therefore, text 16. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, does not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One more. Who wants to read?
Okay, I can read.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in the world, in this world, does not kill, nor he is bound by his actions.
Ribol. Ribol, thank you everyone for reading. So we read till verse 13. So Krishna says, not only are you entitled to any results, right? Krishna established that in the first 12 verses that you should become a renounced person, because if you're not renounced, then you will have to suffer the desirable, undesirable or mixed reactions. तो अच्छे बुरे और मिक्स रिएक्शन सफर करने आपको आना पड़ेगा, इसलिए रिजल्ट्स के साथ अटैच नहीं होना चाहिए. So he established that. He said you are not entitled to the results. Okay. Then he said, now the next thing he's bringing, the next topic, he's saying, you are not the enjoyer or controller of the results. ये बात तो समझ आ गई. But you are not even complete controller of the action also. हम लोग बहुत, sometimes we feel very puffed up. Oh, I am very disciplined, or I'm very talented, or I'm very skilled. I have so many qualities. I'm very hardworking. I'm very perseverance. Yes, all those qualities should be there, right? All those qualities, जैसे किसी job interview में जाते हैं, those are the qualities people boast about, right? I have so many talents. This is my CV. I have so many skills. I'm so disciplined. My mind is under my control. I'm so intelligent. I'm so hardworking. I do not give up. I'm very persistent. These things, right? These things should be there, right? But all these things are your own effort, your own endeavor, which is only one of the 5 factors that are responsible in causing, in facilitating an action. कोई action करने के लिए भी there are 5 things needed, Krishna says. And so you are not the only doer. You're thinking you are the only doer, you are making something happen. No, there are 5 things that are needed. And then he says, what are those 5 things? So he says the first thing is the body, or the place of action, adhishtanam. So look at the verse. Krishna says adhishtanam. Adhishtanam is your body, the place where the action takes place. The performer, the actual performer or the doer, the living entity, the jiva, is trapped inside that body, right? The performer. Then various senses are there, right? Senses are the ones that are actually causing an action to happen. क्योंकि senses से desires आती हैं. So jiva thinking that he is this body, he is developing all these desires. Like for example, मुझे desire आई कि मुझे समोसा खाना है, right? वो desire jiva को कहाँ से आई? Because the senses have tasted samosa in the past, right? My tongue, my eyes, my nose have smelled it, seen it, tasted it. So I have those impressions on my body, on my subtle body, on my senses, that the samosa tastes good. So now the jiva will desire, right? So the performer or the jiva will desire, and the desire is based on the senses, based on the influence of the senses. And then to make that action possible, to eat that samosa, the jiva will start performing different kinds of endeavor, है ना? वो समोसा बनाएगा, उसके लिए सामान लाएगा, या वो किसी रेस्टोरेंट में जाएगा, या जिसको समोसा बनाना आता है उसको कॉल करेगा, right? So he will start engaging in different kinds of endeavor. But ultimately that may not succeed, that endeavor may not fructify, it may not fulfill. Why? Because Lord may or may not sanction. So ultimately the Lord has to, the super soul, the Paramatma, who is watching the desires of this jiva sitting within the heart, he is watching, right? Remember, there are 2 birds sitting on a tree. One is the jiva, the other is the Paramatma. So the living entity and the super soul. And jiva is just engaged in eating the fruit, right? But if Paramatma does not allow, he may not be able to eat that fruit, right? So Paramatma has to sanction, only then that action will be performed. So Krishna is saying that the action takes place in all these places. It takes place in the body, it takes place by the jiva's desire, it takes place by the impressions and the will of various senses, and then when many different types of endeavors happen, and then ultimately the super soul sanctions. We have read this same concept of doership in chapter 5 also. In that chapter, it was simplified into 3 main doers. So actually we will take that aspect because that is simpler to understand. उसमें कृष्णा ने 3 डूअर्स बताए थे. तो ये तो हो गए 5 causes of an action, right? But 3 doers बताए थे कृष्णा ने. One is the soul or the jiva who desires. Now this desire we understand is based on our senses, based on our bodily understanding. Then super soul or Paramatma sanctions that desire, and then the action is facilitated by the prakriti or the nature. So like our body may not allow, the 3 modes of material nature may not allow, our karma may not allow, that samosa may not be in our destiny. So the karma may not facilitate, the 3 modes may not facilitate, the situation around us may not facilitate that action to happen. So Prakriti only facilitates when super soul sanctions. If super soul or Paramatma sanctions, then Prakriti will facilitate that action. So the only thing that is in Jiva's hand is his desires actually. बाकी का जितना भी endeavor है, जो वो सोच रहा है कि मैं बड़ा talented हूँ, hard working हूँ, मेरी बहुत सारे skills हैं, या बहुत ज़्यादा perseverance है, persistence है, बहुत ज़्यादा ऐसी qualities हैं, right? They are all actually part of your body and senses, and that is Prakriti. But Prakriti cannot do much. Those endeavors cannot do much until Paramatma sanctions. So Paramatma sanctions, only then an endeavor can be facilitated by the Prakriti. So Jiva क्या करता है? Jiva only desires. तो इसलिए let's keep reading, थोड़ा और समझ आएगा. So let's see the next verse again. This was verse 14, ठीक है? So इसलिए Krishna says, whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind or speech is caused by these 5 factors. Okay, we understand. So whatever good or bad you're doing, whatever right or wrong you're doing with your body, mind or speech, they are caused by these 5 factors. So these are the 5 things that are enabling an action to happen. So whoever thinks that they're the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, verse 16 Krishna says, is not intelligent and cannot see things as they are. So whoever is thinking that I am the only doer, I am the only a person that has only entity that has made this action possible, is actually not completely intelligent, because he's not able to see things as they are. He does not understand that Prakriti has a role to play. Paramatma has the final word in the action. And then based on your body, based on the situation that you are in this Prakriti, based on your karma, based on the 3 modes of nature that are controlling you, you are able to do those things. So you're not the only doer. So इसमें एक बहुत important verse आती है. Can one of the kids quote that verse from chapter 3, where it is similar thing is said that whoever thinks that they are the doer, only doer, are actually not very intelligent. Yes, Vedhi. And we'll read the purport of that verse. Yes.
Yes, 3.27. Prakriti kriyamana ni gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma karta hamiti manyate.
Bol. This is the verse that Devi recited just now. Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha. So there are many things which facilitate an activity. The Prakriti is doing things. Your gunas or 3 modes of material nature, which are part of Prakriti, right? They are facilitating an activity. But a vimudatma, a foolish person, by his arrogance or by his false ego, thinks that I am the doer. Karta ham iti manyate. He thinks that I am the only doer. Let's read this purport of this verse. Who wants to read this? Please read the whole purport. Yes, Anita Mataji, want to read?
Yes, Mataji, I can read. Actually, I had question which like we can discuss later, but I can read
Let's
this.
read, see if your question gets answered by reading this.
Okay. 2 persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, his bodily and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesha, or the master of the senses of the material body, for due to his long misuse of the senses in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Vibhu. Mataji, you want to share something from this?
Yes, Mataji. So my question basically was that, like, what or how should we, what should be our conduct that makes us move as per the sanction, like as per the instruction from the Paramatma, not based on our senses. So, like, yeah. So what I am understanding from this purport is that our activity should be focused in the service of Krishna. So, like, whatever is favorable for, Krishna, in that way, we are, like the question that I have, that I want to basically do what Krishna is recommending, what Paramatma is sanctioning for me to do. That's what I want to do. I don't want to do what my senses are telling me all the time. So how I should make sure that is happening? So
Yes, ma'am.
what I am understanding in this purport is that just engage myself in Krishna's activities. But maybe you can elaborate more, Mataji, on that one.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, so you're right. So this purport was very actually nice, easy to understand. That's why I wanted to read this purport, because Krishna is saying that there is difference between people in Krishna consciousness and the other person in material consciousness. Material consciousness person is taking credit for everything he's doing, right? He's thinking himself independent entity from the Lord. He does not think that Lord has any jurisdiction in his life. So he's thinking, I'm the only doer. If something good happens, that's all credits to me. So everyone should glorify me. I should get all the money, all the name, fame that's associated with that particular outcome, right? With that particular activity. So he feels very puffed up when that activity fructifies, when he gets that result, good result. Similarly, he also, since he thinks that he is the doer, when that activity does not happen well, then he becomes very depressed. He becomes feels very low, gets this inferiority complex, right? Because he's attached to his false ego, bodily concept so much that he thinks, I'm the doer. So because I'm the doer, when this thing did not happen, it did not happen because of me. So then these people commit suicide, right? They will, like all the students that are committing suicide in India, the consensus keeps going up, census of students that are committing suicide, because they think that we are we should have succeeded. We should have gotten, so much score and rank and whatnot. And if we did not, then it is all the onus is on us, not realizing that there is, like you said, there is so much baggage of karma on us. There is so much baggage of, the three modes of material nature. And maybe the Paramatma did not sanction this. Maybe this was not good for us at this time to happen. So that activity did not happen because Krishna did not will it to happen at this point of time. So, so in this way, this is the difference between Krishna consciousness and material consciousness, that Krishna conscious person is depending on Krishna, whereas material consciousness person is completely dependent on his own skills, on his own discipline, on his own efforts, on his own endeavors. So when he does good, he feels puffed up. When he does not do good, when he's not able to get the desired outcome, he feels very low and bad, right? So success and failure is determined like this in this world, because most people are in material consciousness. So Prabhupada is saying this is the symptom of nescience, right? Thinking that everything is independent of Lord. But actually, understanding your dependence on Krishna, your independence has become very, a big concept in this, in the modern world, where everyone wants to be independent. But actually, devotees depend on Krishna for everything. So devotees के लिए ऐसा बोला जाता है कि 99% is our endeavor. मतलब कि हम effort करते हैं, हम कृष्णा से प्रे करते हैं, हम अपने skills use करते हैं, अपने talent use करते हैं, but 1% is Krishna's mercy, and that 1% of Krishna's mercy is more than 99% of our endeavors. Okay, we need that 1% of Krishna's mercy, because if we don't get that 1% of Krishna's mercy, then that action will not fructify. That's why we should pray. We should really depend on his mercy of the devotees and mercy of the Lord. So, but coming back to your question, Mataji, how we can just work according to the sanction of Krishna, so that according to the desire of Krishna, this is something, this is a skill, this is something that we have to hone over a lifetime, right? Because if we think we will be able to hear the voice of Paramatma clearly from within us, we are mistaken. Like Prabhupada here says, because of our long misuse of senses and sense gratification, we are very contaminated. So our mirror is coated with dust, with layers and layers of dust. तो हमें उसमें पिक्चर क्लियरली कभी भी दिखाई नहीं देगी. So it needs a lot of cleaning. It needs a lot of cheto darpan marjanam, right? It needs a lot of cleaning. So this is a lifetime process of sadhana and service that will cleanse that mirror, so we can hear the actual voice of Paramatma telling us what to do, right? So ये तो एक लंबा process है. So what should we do until then? Until the time that we are so contaminated by our senses, so much dust is there on our mirror, we are not able to hear the voice of Paramatma clearly, right? We may think our mind, maybe our mind is saying something to us, और हम सोच रहे हैं कि परमात्मा बोल रहे हैं. ऐसा हो सकता है, right? कि हमें कुछ माइंड करने को बोल रहा है, लेकिन हम उसको परमात्मा की वॉइस मान लें. ऐसा हो सकता है, because we are not pure yet, we are very impure, very contaminated. So उस टाइम तक हमें क्या करना है? We should consult गुरु साधु शास्त्र. ठीक है, तो कृष्णा ने अपनी इंस्ट्रक्शंस कृष्णा को डायरेक्टली सुनने की बजाय एज परमात्मा विद इन आवर हार्ट, विच इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट, विच ओनली वेरी प्योर, वेरी सेल्फ रियलाइज सोल्स आर एबल टू डू, वी शुड कंसल्ट गुरु साधु शास्त्र. मतलब हमें पहले डिवोटीज जो हमारे सीनियर्स हैं, जो हमें पता है वेल विशर्स हैं, हमारे मेंटोर्स हैं, गाइड्स हैं, दे विल ओनली सजेस्ट अस द बेस्ट थिंग टू डू, राइट? दे विल नॉट विश अस एनी हार्म, दे हैव नो अल्टीरियर मोटिव्स. अप्रोच दोस डिवोटीज, राइट? सो दैट इज साधु. ठीक है, वो गए साधु, प्योर डिवोटीज ऑफ द लॉर्ड दैट आर देमसेल्व्स वेरी क्लीन एंड अंडरस्टैंड द डिजायर्स ऑफ द लॉर्ड. तो बेसिकली जो भी आपसे हायर प्लेटफॉर्म पे हैं, उनसे आप अप्रोच करो. ठीक है, दैट इज साधु. गुरु, you can always approach your spiritual master, who's also a representative of the Lord, who's pure devotee of the Lord, who is serving, whose mirror is very clean, right? He can see Krishna's desires, he can see Krishna's will. So consult your guru. And shastra, right? So when we are reading this Bhagavad Gita is giving us the principles, the sutras of how we should conduct our life, right? So you should consult Bhagavad Gita, consult Bhagavatam. You should read Prabhupada's purports. By reading the Prabhupada's purports, you're associating with the pure devotee of the Lord actually. So by Guru Sadhu Shastra, we can understand the desires, the will of the Lord. तो कभी भी कोई ऐसी situation आए जिसमें समझ नहीं आ रहा कि क्या करूं? Is it my senses telling me to do something, my mind telling me to do something, my body telling me to do something, or is it really the will of Krishna? Then think about what Krishna has given us in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. What does he want us to do in that particular situation, right? So जो आपको शास्त्रों के हिसाब से समझ आता है, you can apply that in your life. और अगर नहीं समझ आता, you should approach the devotees and your guru. So that way you can align your will with Krishna's will. So that is the way devotees conduct their life. They put themselves in the hands of Krishna through Guru Sadhu Shastra. Is that understandable, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, yes, very nice. Thank you so much. This clarifies so much.
और धीरे धीरे हमारी डिजायर्स भी प्योरीफाई होती रहेंगी. धीरे धीरे, जैसे हमने पहले बात की थी कि we should attach more to Krishna as we keep praying more, as we keep chanting more. If our prayers and chanting is sincere, if we do sincere service, right? Slowly our material desires also keep getting purified. Slowly the spiritual desires keep increasing. Slowly the mirror keeps getting clean, so we can also hear Krishna's voice more and more clearly, right? So with service, with sadhana, with the process that Prabhupada has given us by eating prasadam, right? By engaging in hearing, chanting, glorifying the Lord, all this, Pravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, all this, you can slowly purify your life. But so that is the mood of a devotee. The devotee will put himself in the hands of Krishna and he will depend on the mercy of Krishna. So he will do his endeavor. तो सबसे पहला step devotee क्या करता है? He examines his desire. कि मेरी जो desire है वो align होती है कृष्णा से, गुरु साधु शास्त्र से या नहीं? जो मैं काम undertake करने जा रहा हूँ, जो मैं काम करने जा रहा हूँ, वो कितना align होता है with Krishna's desire, right? या अगर वो material desire भी है, तो can I somehow make it a little bit spiritual? Can I somehow please the Lord and devotees even while undertaking that material desire, right? जैसे कि किसी को कुछ गाने का शौक है, right? तो क्या मैं अपने वॉइस को ऐसे कर सकता हूँ कि मैं डिवोशनल सॉन्ग ज्यादा से ज्यादा गाऊं, बट आई ऑल्सो लाइक टू सिंग सम बॉलीवुड सॉन्ग्स, बट कैन आई इंक्रीज माय quotient of singing more and more devotional songs? Can I do some service in the temple where I'm singing mostly, right? Okay, so how can we engage our material desires also in a little bit of spirituality so that we can slowly purify those material desires, material skills, material endeavors also, right? So ये mood होता है devotee का, he depends on Krishna, he prays, he does his sadhana very intensely and sincerely, and he tries to engage more and more in spiritual desires. वो अपनी desire examine करता है, उसमें से जो बिल्कुल ही purely material है, not very much encouraged by the devotees, he gives them up, right? वो उनको छोड़ देता है, and he keeps increasing his spiritual desires. सिर्फ spiritual desire में जब वो endeavor करता है, then he prays to Krishna that please make this happen, please make this service, please fulfill this service so that I can serve the devotees and serve you very nicely, right? Prabhupada always used to say, Jo Hari Ichha. So वो काम अच्छे से करो, give it your best, do your best, put your best foot forward, give your best endeavors. And then Krishna, once you put yourself in hands of Krishna, he will overcome the limitations of Prakriti or Karma or whatever the baggage is, right? Then he will handle your baggage. So you still may be carrying some baggage, but if you put yourself in hands of Krishna, then he will overcome those limitations caused by your senses, your mind, your body, your karmas and your three modes of material nature, all these distractions around us, then he will take care of those. So I really like to sing this song a lot because Prabhupada wrote this. Prabhupada wrote this on Jalduta when he was making that remarkable journey, that memorable journey, right, from India to US the first time when he came and suffered 2 heart attacks on that journey. He did not know what he was doing, but his wishes were aligned with his guru's wishes, right? His guru had instructed him and he was carrying out the wishes of his guru. So he sang this. He said, Aniyacho jadi prabhu amare nachate, nachao prabhu, nachao se mate. Kashtera putali jatha, nachao se mate, nachao prabhu, nachao se mate. So he said that आप मुझे इस जगह पर ले तो आए हो into this fallen place, but you must have a reason why you brought me here, right? अन्नी आचो जदी प्रभु, आप मुझे नचाने के लिए लाए हो, हमारे नचाते. So now make me dance like your puppet. काष्ठेरा पुतली जाता, काष्ठेरा मतलब वुड की जैसे वुड का पपेट होता है उसकी तरह मुझे नचाओ. So नचाओ प्रभु, नचाओ से मते. So he has given his reins completely in the hands of Krishna. और प्रभुपाद की बहुत फेमस था, वो जब वो कुछ काम करते थे फिर वो बोलते थे अगर ये होगा या नहीं होगा ये हरी इच्छा, तो जो हरी इच्छा वो ऐसे बोलते थे. So you give your best, you examine your desires. Am I really engaging in spiritual desires or are they very, very materialistic? Can I give some of these material desires up? Can I increase more of my spiritual desires? And in those spiritual desires, can I ask Krishna for his mercy? Can I ask devotees for their mercy? Can I pray for those desires to be fulfilled because they are in the service of Lord and his devotees? And in that mood, you ask Krishna to make you his puppet, right? This is the mood of liberated souls. So they stay in this world. They look like they're doing all those actions that other people are also doing, but they're not getting entangled. They're not accruing any reactions at all. So इसमें हमने I think ये पढ़ लिया that we are not the only doer. Then the last verse that we read, Krishna said, one who is not motivated by false ego. So basically, Krishna conscious person is working from the spiritual platform, from the platform of serving the Lord and his devotees, whereas a materially conscious person is working from the platform of body, which means by his false ego. So he's motivated by his false ego. तो कई बार false ego बहुत strong रहती है, हम सभी की false ego बहुत strong रहती है. We're operating on a very superficial bodily platform, right? So and by operating on that platform, we get entangled. But Krishna says, if you are not motivated by false ego, then you will know that I am the enjoyer, that you are not the only doer, right? Then you will be able to work in the right mood with the service attitude, and in that way, your intelligence will not be entangled. Now, this line that Krishna says, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. This line is very specifically mentioned here for Arjun. Okay, so we cannot misconstrue Bhagavad Gita to say that we can kill people based on this, right? That, I murdered somebody, but I'm not the only doer, so Krishna made me do it. Aisa nahi hota. That's a very sinful action you're doing, when you're killing somebody, when you're, without any reason taking somebody's life. So though he kills men, does not kill, cannot be taken out of context here. The context here is that Krishna is talking to Arjun, who is a Kshatriya, whose duty it is to kill these adharmic people, these aggressors, these violent people who, if they came into rule, then they will destroy the dharma, right? They will not be able to uphold dharma if they came into the rule. So this is Krishna's will here, that you should kill these men because they are not the upholders of dharma. Whereas Yudhishthir Maharaj and his brothers are the upholders of dharma and they should inherit this kingdom. And the other party, the Kaurav party, is very, very fallen, very, very sinful. They have committed one aggression after another against the devotees of the Lord. So they should be killed. So this is the will of the Lord here. So this is very much specific to Arjun here. But in case of Arjun, okay, when he was not killing them, this is a point to understand. When he was not killing these Kauravas, right, in the beginning of the chapter 1 and 2, when he was not killing, he put his Gandiv down. At that time, he was operating from a very superficial bodily platform. He was motivated by the false ego at that time, right? Do you agree? He was motivated by false ego. कि मैं अर्जुन हूँ, ये मेरे relationships हैं, मैं इनको मार दूंगा तो मुझे दुख होगा. तो मैं was too much. Bodily platform was too much, right? So he was operating from the platform of false ego, not understanding that the adharma needs to be destroyed. So when he was motivated by false ego, his intelligence was entangled at that time, right? So Krishna is saying, not killing somebody when you need to kill them, like a police officer or a Kshatriya or a soldier, it may be his duty to kill someone. If he's not killing somebody because he's thinking, oh, ye, आदमी है, औरत है, ये Indian है, ये है, वो है. When he's not doing his service, basically, then that is also, then that can also be sinful. So this is a particular specific context that we have to remember here, right? It's the example of a soldier. हमने पिछली बार soldier का example लिया था कि अगर एक soldier war में fight करने जाता है, if he does his service properly and kills the enemies, right, then he is glorified by the government. Government को lord समझ लो, government को lord मान लो. Then the Lord will glorify you if you did your service properly. But if the soldier runs away from the battlefield, I don't want to kill these enemies because I don't want to, I don't want to kill, and so he runs away, then he is giving up his prescribed duty, which is sinful, right? So then he will be court-martialed, right? So he will have to suffer the sinful reactions. The government will disown him, will court-martial him. So he will get dysphemy, right? He will not become famous. He will not be given any medals. He will not be given any glories. His family will not be glorified. He will not be glorified. No honors will be given to him. In fact, he will be dishonored and will not be allowed to serve in the army again, right? Because the soldier's position was to kill. That was his prescribed duty. Now, the third situation is to misuse his position as a soldier. He's not fighting in a battle. And what does he do? He kills his neighbor. Will that be glorified or honored by the government? No, that will also not be glorified. Why? Because in that case also he will be thrown out of the government. He'll be punished because he killed where he was not supposed to kill. That was not his service, right? So इसीलिए हमको देखना है कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हमारी service क्या है, हमारी prescribed duty हमारी service है. So we have to do that service properly with detachment in service of the Lord for enjoyment of the Lord. But if you engage in sinful actions, like the soldier killed his neighbor, that's a sinful action, then you will also be court-martialed. If you run away from your prescribed duty, then also you will be court-martialed. So it is a very specific context where Krishna is talking, that you should not be motivated from the platform of false ego. So basically bodily platform पे काम करना is not recommended. इसलिए जो devotees होते हैं, they are transcendently situated. They are on a higher platform than the material platform. They're not on the bodily platform. They are able to see things as they are. Krishna says, see things as they are, right? Whereas bewildered people whose intelligence is entangled, who are operating from the bodily platform, cannot see things as they are. So this is the mood of a devotee. Examine your desires, depend on the Krishna while carrying out that endeavor, work with service attitude, and if the result comes according to if the desired result comes, then you thank Krishna. You don't take any credit for it. You remember that Krishna is the enjoyer of that result. And if the desired result does not come, you still do not blame Krishna because you were never the proprietor or enjoyer of the result in the first place. एक लैटिन में एक टर्म होती है, उसको बोलते हैं डियो वोलेंटे, डियो वोलेंटे। इसलिए कई बार लोग बोलते हैं, क्रिश्चियंस ऐसे बोलते हैं डियो वोलेंटे, गॉड विलिंग, या डियो फेवेंटे, कि ऑल फेवर्स आर डन बाय गॉड, या डियो ग्राशियस, कि अगर कुछ हो गया तो वो थैंक्स टू, ऑल ग्रेटिट्यूड टू लॉर्ड, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू लॉर्ड, जैसे हम बोलते हैं ऑल ग्लोरीज। तो सब ग्लोरीज, सब फेवर्स आर गिवन बाय गॉड, ऑल मर्सी गिवन बाय लॉर्ड, ऑल विल इज लॉर्ड्स विल। जो भी होता है वो भगवान के इच्छा से होता है। So if something is not happening properly as per your desired result, then that may also be Lord's plan only. And since devotees are putting themselves in Krishna's hand, they are under his jurisdiction. Okay, let's stop and see if anybody has any questions about this, or reflections or realizations about the doership. Yes, I was saying that song is very consistent with our verses from today. करता नहीं मैं कुछ भी, मेरा काम हो रहा है. Who wants to share anything? Vaidehi Avni, Murli Prabhu, we're glad to have you after several weeks. Thank you for joining us. Okay, let's read 3 more verses then, if you're okay. 3 more verses, can we read? Well, there's not much to discuss in them, so I think we can just recite and read. Okay. So remember this part of Bhagavad Gita is Gyan Yog. So 18 chapter में ज्ञान योग है, लेकिन थोड़ा भक्ति योग भी आगे आएगा. So things will become more, अभी थोड़ा dry है, but it will become more full of mellows and rasa as Krishna starts talking about surrender to him and everything. He'll talk about bhakti yoga also in the middle. But let's read 3 more verses. Bhagavad Gita 18.18. Jnanam gyeyam parigyata
ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं परिज्ञाता
त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना
त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना
करणं कर्म कर्तेति
करणं कर्म कर्तेति
त्रिविधा कर्म संग्रह
त्रिविधा
संग्रह.
Okay, we'll read a couple more. 18.19. ज्ञानं कर्म च कर्ता च ज्ञानं
कर्म च कर्ता च
त्रिधैव गुणभेदता
त्रिधैव गुणभेदता
प्रोच्यते गुणसाङ्ख्याने
प्रोच्यते गुणसाङ्ख्याने
यथा विच्छृणुतान्यपि
यथा विच्छृणुतान्यपि.
One more. 18.20. सर्वभूतेषु येनैकं
सर्वभूतेषु येनैकं
भावम् अव्ययमीक्षते
भावमव्ययमीक्षते
अविभक्तं विभक्तेषु
अविभक्तं विभक्तेषु
तज्ज्ञानं विधि सात्विकं
ज्ञानं
actually, if you're okay, we can read a couple more. We'll just recite and quickly summarize. Couple more. 18.21. पृथक्त्वेन तु यज्ञानं
यज्ञानं
नानाभावन् पृथग्विधान् वेत्ति सर्वेषु भूतेषु
वेत्ति सर्वेषु भूतेषु
तज्ज्ञानं विधिराजसम्
तज्ज्ञानं विधिराजसम्.
18.22. यत्तु कृत्स्नवद् एकस्मिन् कारे सक्तम् अहेतुकम् अत्तत्वार्थवद् अल्पं च
अत्तत्वार्थवद् अल्पं च
Tattamasam udharitam.
Tamasam
udharitam.
Okay, can anybody read these 5 verses one after, or who all want to read? Okay, I can read number 18. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the 3 constituents of action. Yes, Amrin Prue, please read the next two, and then somebody read the 2 after that.
Okay, so yeah, Hare Krishna. Text 19. According to the 3 different modes of material nature, there are 3 kinds of knowledge: action and performer of action. Now hear of them from me. Text 20. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be the mode of goodness.
Yes, Abhi, you want to read the next 2?
Hare Krishna. That knowledge by which one sees that in every body there is a different type of living entity you should understand to be in the mode of passion. Text 22. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. So, I think we can quickly cover these because we have discussed these things. So Krishna is saying in verse 18, that when the action happens, there are 3 constituents of an action, or 3 factors that motivate the action. What motivates your action? जैसे कि मुझे कुछ खाने, जैसे हमने समोसा का एग्जांपल लिया था, right? Let's stick with that example of samosa. So one is the knowledge. So my knowledge of samosa, ki, oh, it's tasty, it's so it's full, it satiates me, my stomach gets full, it smells good, all this, right? That's my knowledge, right? That's my knowledge of that. So, and then I know the resources where I can get it, who can make it, things like that. That's all comprises the knowledge. Okay. Then comes the object of knowledge. Us knowledge ka object kya hai? So the samosa is the object of my knowledge. Okay. So for Krishna devotees, you can think the object of their knowledge is Krishna, and their knowledge is about Krishna, right? And the knower is the jiva. So I am the jiva, right? I'm hankering for the samosa, which is the object of my knowledge. And my knowledge is that this is what I want, this is why I want it, this is how I can get it, right? कि कैसे कोई चीज करनी है, क्यों वो चीज करनी है, why is this so important to me, right? That is all the knowledge. So the knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower, these things are the motivators, or the motivation, the inspiration for the action. Okay, so knowledge can give me the resources, it can help me make a plan on how I should approach this subject that I want, right? And knower is me, the one who's doing this action, and object is my goal, my final destination that I want to achieve. So for any action when we perform, these things are the motivation. Because I cannot think of any better example than the samosa example or gulab jamun, whatever you want to replace with. So हमारे पास एक हमारा गे है, गे is the goal, ठीक है, like rasgulla या gulab jamun is my, या samosa is my गे, my goal, my object that I want to achieve. Then I have the knowledge on why I want it, how I can get it, what is the importance of getting it, things like that. That's all knowledge. And then the knower, or the gyata, that's me. So these things are the motivation for work. And then Krishna is saying in the same verse, these 3 things are the motivators of action. Then these 3 things are the constituents of action. So this we have done before, कि doer हो गया, which is same as the knower. ज्ञाता या कर्ता same है. जब उसको पता चल गया कि उसको क्या चाहिए नोअर को, तो वो कर्ता बन गया. ज्ञाता जो है वो कर्ता बन गया. जिसको पहले नॉलेज थी कि मुझे ये करना चाहिए, now he starts working on that thing and he becomes from ज्ञाता he becomes कर्ता, right? पहले हमने एक प्लान बनाया कि मुझे ये चीज चाहिए, मुझे क्यों चाहिए, कैसे मिलेगी, ये सब मेरी नॉलेज हो गई, और मैं जो हूँ नोअर हूँ या ज्ञाता हूँ. अब मैंने उस चीज पे अपना एक्शन करना शुरू किया, तो मैं बन गई कर्ता, right? The doer, sorry, the knower now becomes the doer, right? So I now become the karta. So Krishna says one of the constants of action is you, the doer. Then the endeavors you will put in that work, right? So the work itself, कि जैसे मैं कहीं drive करके जाऊंगी, समोसा खाने के लिए order डालूंगी, that is my work that I'm putting it in. So that is the work. And then the senses, we know that they are the ones who are going to enjoy that object, right? So the senses, the performer of action, and the work itself, these are the three constituents of action. So I think we understand this, and this is very deep, like, you know, I don't think you will gain much out of this application-wise. Application-wise, the only thing we have to remember is that we should try to make the object of our knowledge Krishna, should try to serve the devotees. That should be our object mostly. And our knowledge should be about that. So whatever you are doing, you know, कि मैं कैसे facilitate कर सकती हूँ services of the Lord, yeah, of his devotees, that should be our knowledge typically. And that should be you, the knower, and those works you mostly engage in. So that is the application of that verse. Then Krishna says, for everything is under the three modes of material nature, right? Sattvic, Rajasic, or Tamasic. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, or ignorance. So similarly, this knowledge, the action, and the performer can also be in three modes. जो आपने अभी verses पढ़ी हैं, they are describing knowledge in three modes. Okay, कि जो आपका ज्ञान है about something, the knowledge about something can also be in three modes, right? So that is more important. So let's understand these three verses. Focus more on these three verses. So Krishna says the knowledge can be in three modes. It can be Rajasic, Tamasic, or Sattvic. What is the knowledge in mode of goodness? So the knowledge in mode of goodness is when you understand the spiritual nature of all living entities, when you understand that all of us are spirit souls, just in different bodies right now, but we are all part and parcels of the same supreme, of the same source, or the same divine superior nature. We are all parts of that same superior nature of the Lord. We are not this body, we are not this mind, we are not this senses, we are not even this intelligence. We are the spirit soul, and all the living entities are such spirit souls, one undivided spiritual nature, right? That is the true knowledge, and that has been divided into innumerable forms, right? So this is the fundamental basis of all our knowledge. Actually, we know that this is where the self-realization starts, understanding that we are the spirit soul, we are not this body. So this knowledge is in the mode of goodness. और जब हम इस प्लेटफॉर्म से कोई भी काम करते हैं तो वो काम टिपिकली सात्विक होगा, मोड ऑफ गुडनेस में होगा. व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड, तो बिकॉज उससे क्या होगा, व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट ऑल लिविंग एंटिटीज आर पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ द सेम सुप्रीम, राइट, then you will not practice violence or discrimination, right? You will be nice to all, you will be calm, and you will be peaceful and happy. So this one understanding will make you in mode of goodness. So Krishna says this knowledge, that we are part of one undivided spiritual nature, that are just divided into innumerable forms, this is the mode of goodness. This is his sattvic knowledge. अभी इसको थोड़ा expand करेंगे. But the second one he says, but the knowledge where you see everybody different, कि ये इस body में है, ये bodily platform पे when you see people, कि ये Indian है, ये American है, ये मुस्लिम है, ये हिंदू है, ये मैन है, ये वुमेन है, ये मेरे प्रोफेशन का है, ये किसी और प्रोफेशन का है, like that, when you differentiate and operate on a bodily platform, then Krishna says that is in mode of passion, or that is Rajasic, because then you may still be working for their welfare, but it will still be Rajasic, right? कि जैसे मैं अपनी कंट्री के लिए काम करूंगा, बट मैं सिर्फ अपनी कंट्री के लिए ही करूंगा, मैं उसके लिए फाइट करूंगा, सब कुछ करूंगा, but that is because they are my countrymen, right? So just looking for my own family, my own body, or my own countrymen, or my own gender, or my own, so जितने भी isms आते हैं, they come from the mode of passion. जैसे feminism, कि हम सब female हैं, या हम सब जितने भी isms आते हैं, communism है, कि capitalism है, ये सब जो isms आते हैं, they are because a set of people are identifying on a bodily platform as one, right? They are identifying as one on the bodily platform. So जब आप bodily platform पे देखते हो चीजों को, then it becomes Rajasic. So Prabhupada often says in his purpose that all these isms are coming from very bodily platform. So they may help some, right? But they are not the highest good. They are not the greatest good. The greatest good is only possible when you see everybody as part of the supreme whole. And then he says the mode of darkness or mode of ignorance, the tamasic thing is when you are very attached to just your own body, you are just operating on the platform of sense gratification. आपको दूसरों की भी चिंता नहीं है इसमें. At least you were in mode of passion, so you were helping other people, you know, you're doing charity for somebody, जो भी. But mode of darkness में you have no hankering for any self-realization, you have no spiritual understanding, and you are only concerned with your own body's needs and demands and constantly catering to your own body only. There is no knowledge of any attachment to the Lord or any attachment to a supreme being, then that is, there's no hankering even for any truth. So that is a very, very ordinary, very, very meager understanding, and that is in the mode of darkness. This is a very selfish type of life. Mode of passion can be somewhat selfless, but not completely selfless. Mode of goodness can be more selfless because you are looking at people as a spiritual entity. So this is Krishna is saying this is the knowledge. This is the knowledge divided into based on 3 modes. So these people that are in mode of goodness, because they understand that we are spiritual entities, they are very conducive to engage in self-realization actually. These people can come to the platform of self-realization very easily. So क्योंकि उनको पता है कि हम लोग सब जीवात्मा हैं. We are not this body, we are the atma, we are the soul. So these people in mode of goodness can actually come to the platform of spiritual realization. इसलिए कहते हैं कि हमें एटलीस्ट अपनी लाइफ को सात्विक बनाना चाहिए, because from sattvic platform it becomes easy to become transcendental. It is easy to achieve self-realization because that fundamental knowledge is there, right? There is no discrimination among different people and all these things. Passion में क्या है कि you are discriminating, but you may still be trying to do their welfare, right? You may still be engaged in some sacrifice activities जो ordinary लोग करते हैं. बहुत से लोग बोलते हैं हम बहुत charity करते हैं, बहुत ये करते हैं. They become very, you know, big, जैसे feminist बन जाते हैं या फिर बहुत ज़्यादा strong nationalists कि हमारी country, बाकी सब countries बेकार, बाकी सब लोग बेकार, सिर्फ हमारी ही country अच्छी है, सिर्फ हमारा ही धर्म अच्छा है, सिर्फ हमारा ही gender अच्छा है, सिर्फ हमारा ही जो भी मैं हूँ, मैं जिस शहर में रहता हूँ सबसे अच्छा है, मैं जिस कॉलोनी में रहता हूँ वो सबसे अच्छा है. So based on that, you know, people are very, very on bodily platform, that is mode of passion. और जब किसी को कुछ भी awareness नहीं है, सिर्फ अपनी bodily needs को ही, like an animal who's catering to just his own body needs, and that is mode of ignorance, like an animal basically. That is very animalistic life, very tamasic life. There is no sacrifice at all. So we can elaborate on this more next time, but let's take any realizations. Or I just wanted to get started on Bhagavad Gita today because it has been so long. So I apologize. I know some devotees wanted to do more question answer sessions, but I think we needed to move on with Bhagavad Gita for at least a few more times. So I apologize. Let's hear any reflections, comments, anything you did not understand, or when you were hearing or reading, you understood something suddenly that came to mind. That was a wonderful realization for you. Please share with us all. Yes, Prabhuji, please share. I'm ready, Prabhu.
Yeah, no, so like when I was hearing for the thing like the Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer, so I relate that with like in real world with the founder of a company. So I consider Krishna as like founder of this world, and yeah, whatever we do, like consider a big company CEO, he is the founder, he made the company, people work under him, we work for him, directly or indirectly. We think like we are working for ourselves, but the founder or CEO of the company is the ultimate enjoyer. So that is kind of I consider that kind of a Krishna is like founder or CEO of this world. He made this world, he made we are part of his like super soul and soul, and whatever we do, he enjoy that. So that's the one thing when I heard this one, I kind of relate that with the real life. So that's all.
Yes, Prabhuji, very wonderful realization. इसमें एक एग्जांपल आता है कि जैसे बैंक में काम करता है कोई बैंक टेलर, राइट? Now bank teller, all he's doing is he's handling the money on behalf of the bank and the customer, right? So जब तक वो honestly काम करता रहेगा बैंक का, he will stay in the employment of the bank, right? लेकिन जिस दिन उसने ये सोचा और thinking that this money is not my money, I'm just handling it on behalf of the bank and the customer. जिस दिन उसने उसमें से एक भी पैसा चुरा लिया, एक भी डॉलर रख लिया अपनी पॉकेट में, right? So even that $1, you may think $1 is not a big amount, but that $1 with the sense of enjoyment for himself he kept, right? And that $1 did not belong to him; it belonged to the bank or the customer, right? So then that day he did not do his service. That day, if the bank finds out, what will happen? He will lose his position. He will be dishonored. So similarly, in this world, we are operating on behalf of the Lord, just like you said, we are His servants. तो जब तक हम उनकी injunctions के अंडर काम करेंगे according to His instructions, His rules given by the Guru Sadhu Shastra, till then we will be honored, will be promoted, will be paid, you know, we'll get all the happiness, we'll get all the peace, all the whatever comforts we need, we'll actually get them. But then the day we decided to use those things that He has given for our own enjoyment, जो भी चीजें मिली हैं, चाहे आपकी body है, वो भी कृष्णा की सर्विस के लिए मिली है, जो आपके फैमिली मेंबर्स हैं वो भी कृष्णा की सर्विस के लिए हैं, जो आपकी कम्युनिटी है, जो आपकी कंट्री है, जो आपको टैलेंट्स मिले हैं, जो आपको स्किल्स मिले हैं, जो आपको इंटेलिजेंस मिली है, राइट? वो सब we are just the instruments in Krishna's hand, like a guitar in the hand of a musician, right? So we just have to be the instrument in hands of the musical instrument in the hand of the expert musician. Only the expert musician can play the right notes. So if we just become an instrument in the hands of Krishna, then we'll get all the glories. अमोघलीला प्रभु बोलते हैं ना कि अगर भगवान ने आपसे झंडे गड़ाने हैं तो आपसे झंडे गड़वा ही लेंगे, right? So you don't have to struggle too hard to get all these things in the material world. And even if you get something in the material world, it's actually not something that devotees hanker for, right? We don't want anything in this material world, so we just want to go back to Godhead and to serve the Lord.
I can't hear Mataji. Is it only me who is not able to hear?
No, same here.
Oh, I was saying, can you hear me now?
Again, the internet is bad over there, so I don't know if her mobile internet got disconnected or something.
अभी आ रही है बस?
Yes.
अभी
Yeah.
आ रही है।
Oh, I was sharing the example of अमोघलीला प्रभु बोलते हैं कि भगवान ने आपसे झंडे गड़वाने हैं तो गड़वा ही लेंगे. Did you hear that? Right?
क्या
So
वहां
we-
तक ही सुनाई दिया था, उसके
बस
आगे
वही
नहीं सुना।
उसी पे elaborate कर रही थी मैं, तो इतना ज्यादा we don't have to endeavor too hard in this material world to get any material achievements. But yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice example you shared. Who else? Yes, Nirbhay Prabhu,
Hare
you want to
Krishna.
share something?
Yes. So I was just thinking, so this was very good and very helpful, especially the 5 doers concept. I keep forgetting that. We read it before also that there are multiple doers. I think in chapter, what is जिसमें ज्ञाता हो सकता.
Fifth chapter.
That is
Oh, okay,
chapter
okay.
17,
13th chapter.
15th or
Chapter 13.
13th. 13, yeah. And then in that it was slightly more confusing, I think, to understand that Kshetrajya. It was described in those terms. And I was thinking that it actually, if we detach ourselves in this way, thinking that we are not the doers, it actually takes away a lot of anxiety. It's actually so simple. Life becomes so simple if we can do that in our everyday life, because then just like, we have a responsibility to do what God is, Krishna's work. The same way, the result doesn't depend on us. So that takes away so much anxiety, so much stress. That if something didn't happen, and it was out of my hand. I did my best as my job or my work for Krishna, but it did not fructify. But again, I'm not the only doer, so it is not kind of the onus is not on me. So that's why I think the devotees are so happy, and so the senior devotees, they're always in bliss, because again they understand that they are not the doers. So I think this concept actually is very, very important for just being blissful. I just wanted to share that. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, we discussed this concept and we were talking about happiness, right? Ki the happiness comes in the service itself, and actually you become free of fears and anxieties because you're not the controller of the result or even the complete action itself. So, do you know? Does everyone know what is NATO? NATO. NATO. What is NATO? Where they?
A group of countries like
Isn't that the group of countries?
Yes,
the
that's the.
names they have?
Yeah, right. So NATO से तो बहुत anxiety हुई, right? Ukraine को by trying to come under the shelter of NATO. That was the one of the reasons why the whole war started, right? But the devotees practice a different kind of NATO. It's called not attached to the outcome. Not attached to outcome. NATO, not attached to outcome. So by being not attached to outcome, actually that NATO brings very, fearlessness, no anxiety, always happy, always serving, always blissful, and just you're not the enjoyer, you're not the controller, you're not the proprietor. So that knowledge itself just frees you. So that knowledge, Krishna says, is in the mode of goodness, understanding that we are spiritual entity, we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are servant of the Lord, and everybody is a servant of the Lord. And all of us working for one goal to please Krishna, right, will actually bring a lot of welfare to the society. So, but everybody just fighting and working for their own self, जैसे कि अभी war का example है, so many other places where countries are just working for their own welfare only, and I do not care what happens to anybody else, and that does not lead to a good outcome. So then that is a mode of ignorance and passion, just attached to yourself only. So looking at everybody as a spiritual entity. That is knowledge in mode of goodness. Knowledge in mode of goodness के बाद Krishna will also talk about action in mode of goodness and the doer in mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. So everything he will talk about तीन गुणों में कैसे होता है, knowledge कैसे होती है इन तीन गुणास, meaning ज्ञान, the gyata or the knower कैसे होता है in three modes, and the karma itself, the action in three modes. So action in three modes कैसे होता है, that we will read next time. So we'll stop for today. Let's chant one round together. Whoever is able to stay, please chant. Vancha kalptarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah gurve gaurachandraya radhikaya tadalaya krishnaya krishna.
Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namah.
Thank
Hare
you everybody for joining. I'm stopping the recording and we'll chant one round. Hare Krishna.